Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the 2026 National Civility Summit for Local Government, where today we're going to be focusing on the concept of adaptability in a changing environment. We're so pleased that you could join us with colleagues from across the country and look forward to this day as we move forward. Today, we're very thankful to have our host partners, which include the Robert D. and Billie Ray Center in association with the Ron and Jane Olson Institute for Public Democracy at Drake University, the Iowa League of Cities, and the Greater Des Moines Partnership. And we appreciate everybody coming together to put this content together to bring you some best practices and strategies that you can utilize in your own environment. Today's objectives and the outcomes we want to achieve for you include taking a look at the role of civic leadership and civility in adapting to change, partnering for community resilience through civility. And we're going to provide a civility framework of looking at both what are controllable and uncontrollable things in your leadership. And that's both elected or serving as staff or community leadership, as well as we have all interests involved today. We'll also take a look at election integrity and local trust and the significance that that's playing out right now with some great new resources coming from us, the Arizona State University. And then applied adaptability, really looking at tools for you local leaders, and then a path forward where you will identify things that you can do in your own leadership as we go forward. I'm Scott Raecker. I'm honored to be the Executive Director of the Robert D. and Billie Ray Center at Drake University, as well as the Co-Executive Director of the Olson Institute for Public Democracy here at Drake. I'd also had the privilege and honor to serve in the Iowa legislature from 1999 through 2012. At the Ray Center, our mission is to improve civility through character development and ethical leadership. We serve over 9 million youth in our education-related initiatives, Character Counts. We also work with state and local elected officials across the country in creating a culture of excellence and civility. So we're pleased to have you with us today, and we thought as we started that we'd like to give you just a little context of how we frame civility and what we're trying to go after today with you as well. So I want to start with some data points. There's multiple sources that do great research data on civility. Weber Shandwick is one of those for over 2 decades. And as you can see by the details on that, we continue to see high levels of people believing that incivility in government is preventing action on important issues. And some even at 3/4 stating that we are in a crisis proportion. Another area that has done significant research has been the American Bar Association. Now, in their recent survey of civic literacy, as you can see, 85% of Americans believe society is less civil than it was a decade ago, and they added causal impacts with their data collection, and that came up with they were blaming both social media and public officials for that decline. And no question, that does play a role, but also constituencies play a role as well. As we go forward, Pew Charitable Research also has longitudinal data. When it comes to civility, the research trends indicate we continue to move in the wrong direction. This is a word map that they did of their most recent civility surveying. And as you can see, divisive, corrupt, messy, embarrassing are all language that people are using, constructing around governance in our country. Pew also takes a look at the majority of Americans who right now, and I think this is very true, at least in those that I have contact with, are often exhausted and angry when thinking about politics and or governance. And you can see the bars there. I think the thing that's maybe a little disappointing is that there's only 10% that are hopeful and only 4% that are excited in that area. And when you look at overwhelming majorities are saying that political debate has become less respectful, 84%, with only 4% saying that it's become more respectful. This gives us the context of which we're looking at civility in the public service arena through those political manifestations. What we're also looking at is data from SHRM, the Society of Human Resource Managers, who we've partnered with, who is doing quarterly research on civility in corporate America. And what they found in the most recent, and this has been longitudinal over the last 2 years, 168 million Americans are in the workforce, and 63% of those workers believe our society is uncivil. U.S. workers are collectively experiencing over 220 million acts of incivility per day. And reported out by those organizations and tallied up, that's over $2 billion in lost productivity and absenteeism and incivility taking place in the workplace. And a note I would also like to make on the workplace civility is that every governance entity is also a workplace, whichever level of governance you may be at. There are staff and workplaces around that. What this workplace civility is capturing the attention of major leaders across the country is that it does show that 3 times more likely people are dissatisfied with their job if they're experiencing incivility, and they're 2 times more likely to be leaving for the next job. And as we all look to attraction and retention of great workforce, it's now becoming clear that focusing on the civility in the workplace is one of those initiatives for attraction and retention. One of the things that the SHRM data has also brought out that's very important is what is the causal effect? What's fueling those fires? And think of your own workplace, think of your public service, think of the community or the organization you serve. Are there disagreements on social issues? Are there generational gaps in your workplace that are making it difficult for people to work together? The direction of society as a whole and political viewpoints can be flashpoints for people, as well as racial or ethnic differences. So what we've tried to do is identify that there are these challenges, and I know that we're not bringing to you anything that you're not aware of, but I think in any time that we're talking about this, we need to at least set the stage in the context of why we're addressing solutions if we don't understand that we do have some significant challenges that we're facing. What we want to know and look at as we focus on incivility in governance at the local level is that we know that incivility is increasing. The data is very clear on that. The depth of the trending incivility is disrupting governance, and it is extending across the country. We do know that for those that are nonpartisan offices, that we're seeing partisan intrusion in those elections, and that is impacting government. There's no question that we're seeing disruptions to local government meetings, and that's a growing issue and concern, as well as friction between varying levels of government structures that's growing across our country. And incivility in government is certainly inspiring distrust of public institutions for many. And the physical and verbal threats and disruptive governance and impact certainly the attraction and retention of good people who are desiring and wanting to serve. So with that, framing the context of where we are and knowing it's a challenge, what do we want to try and accomplish today? We want to take a look at the elements of civility, which the floor for us, and as we're bringing this to you, is clearly and certainly respect, decorum, kindness, and etiquette. But what we're really trying to get after, and was a vision of Governor Ray, is the depth of civility, where we seek to address the challenges that we have of how can we disagree without being disagreeable? How can we approach difficult conversations and hard decisions with a focus on understanding, if not resolution? And where is it that we can create a culture where elected officials can govern, staff can implement, and citizens can be involved and heard in a participatory process without a fear or threat to any stakeholders along that pathway in the process? Our hope is, as we move through this day, that you will see that we see opportunities for growth. It's captured well here, I believe, in the Institute for Civility and Government statement, which we like. I like this where it talks about disagreeing without disrespect, seeking common ground as a starting point for dialogue about differences. What do we have in common before what separates us? Listening past one's own preconceptions and teaching others to do the same. The listening part is critical. It is the hard work of staying present, even with those with whom we have deep-rooted differences and fierce disagreements. And as we talk about it, is a prerequisite for civic action. And it's about negotiating our interpersonal power, that everyone's voice is heard, nobody is ignored, and that civility begins with each of us. And that's where I'm going to leave off my opening, and the context is I do believe there's hope and optimism. There's hope and optimism in every one of you that have signed up today to said, I want to set aside a couple hours of my day today to see what I can do to be better or different in my own leadership as it comes to civility. What are some strategies and tools that could impact myself and where I serve? We firmly believe here that we collectively improve when I individually improve. So I would like to challenge you each. As you go through the different sessions we have today, there will be presentations, there will be interactive, there will be some panel discussions, for you to be thinking about how can I take what I'm hearing here in this element and use this in my own leadership. The last thing we're going to do today, as we take a look at a path forward, is challenge you to think about what is it, as you've invested this 3 hours of time, that you will do better or differently in your leadership to enrich and enhance the civility in the arena that you are.